All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to episode 23 of the KissFAQ podcast. Joining me today is Lonnie. Welcome back, Lonnie. It's been a while. Alex.
Happy to be back.
Who's, of course, Bagboy. And special guest today, Ross Radley, prospective author-to-be of Magic, Kiss Chronicles 1973 to 1983. And you are, what's your handle on the FAQ message board?
Abuser name.
All right, so Ross has been a part of the FAQ community for quite a while, and he often chimes in useful information on threads, which we're going to be talking about today. But first things, I want to introduce Ross to you, and actually let Ross introduce himself to you as a fan. Before we talk about Magic, let's just go through a few quick questions about you as a fan, Ross. Let's start with the basic one that we ask everyone. What was your first Kiss album?
My first Kiss album was Destroyer. And I love this story. I love telling this story about how I got the album because it's a relationship between me and my sister. There used to be a drugstore called Eckerd Drugs, and now it's basically all the Walgreens. And they had a small little record collection there that you could purchase from. And my sister was very adamant. You need to buy Love Gun. This is the better one. Now, I'm holding up the Destroyer one, and she's kind of shoving the Love Gun in, like, this is what you need to buy. I promise you it's the better one. Trust me. And if she had just really kept her mouth shut, I probably would have went for the one with the girls with the big boobs on the cover, right? But she was so adamant, and being the punk kid I am at basically 10 years old, I just said, no, I think I'll take Destroyer instead. And when I got it home and put it on the turntable, we had a turntable in the living room at the time. Our stereo was in the living room. And so I put it on there, and that whole intro to Detroit Rock City stuff's going on, and everybody's looking at me. My mom's looking like, what did you buy? This is not music, And I was, very embarrassed for a minute because I didn't understand what that sound was. I could hear some mumbling, talking, and what sounded like spoons and forks being cleaned or something, like a diner. I didn't understand a thing. But then when it kicked in with da 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 da, then I was like, see, this is what I was talking about, y'all. This is the one. This is the song. So, and that kicked it all off. And just before that, I saw him on, like most people, saw him first on the Paul Ann Halloween special. Changed everything.
So you became a fan in the originals there. What's your favorite Kiss album then?
I would have to go with Alive. It really, in terms of the energy and the sound and the look and every aspect of it, it's hard for me to find any studio album that tops that recording. It still pumps me up to this day to listen to it. And as a music teacher, I love getting to kind of expose, show these kids, listen to this. I love that I have a little bit of that control over their time. They're a captive audience in my studio here as I'm teaching them how to play guitar or drums or even piano. And so check out this song called Parasite. You'll love it. Listen to this song called Watching You. You have to learn this song. But it's definitely Alive for me.
And then I guess our last of the fluff questions is favorite member of the band.
Well, for a long time it was Paul Stanley. I even filled out in one of those teen magazines where you could fill out a little thing saying who your favorite band member was, and you might win one of the Kiss dolls. I wrote something like, my favorite Kiss member is Paul Stanley, and the reason is it's simple. He's just cool, and that's all I could think to say. So I still have that little clipping of that thing. I never did actually send it in for some reason because I was just a stupid little kid. But Paul was my favorite for a long time. I loved his solo album. Over the years, Ace really started to climb in my favorite list. I would still say in the end, Paul's still my favorite. Even today, I love the fact that I know his voice is what it is, but I love his dedication to being that ultimate frontman, for the most part, keeping himself in amazing shape and, fighting against, I don't know, knee problems or hip problems or, any health issues, and just doing his best to continue on being the ultimate, rock star frontman. So definitely, Paul.
Nice. That's a great introduction. And I guess for people out there who aren't aware of Ross, you've had a couple of thank yous in Kiss product, haven't you? So I've got one right beside me that came out. When was it? Last year, 2012. I lose track.
2014 last year.
I lose track of that. You're thanked in that. You're also thanked in Ken Sharp's "Nothing to Lose." So you've done some stuff around the band, not necessarily directly for them, but on the periphery. Can you tell us about the stuff that you've done? Moving on from being a fan to kind of doing some of these projects where you get a thank you in a record, which is kind of cool.
Could you share kind of how you got involved with them too? How'd you get asked and stuff?
Yeah, well, the way it worked, the very first involvement was with Ken Sharp, and once he posted on the FAQ that he was working on a book and was kind of sending, casting a line, seeing if anybody had anything to donate or contribute, any paraphernalia or clippings or ads or photos or anything. I contacted him and basically just said, listen, I don't need to be paid. You don't have to pay me a penny. Please let me be involved just so I can help you make sure that the photos are actually correctly labeled. That's all I want to do. So many Kiss books come out and, they don't really care about when the photo came out or who took it or anything. They just slap any old date on there. And I just said, this is an opportunity for us to be accurate in these particular dates, and just let me help, please, out of my heart, let me help. And he was so wonderful. Listen, y'all, Ken Sharp, I could spend the whole hour telling you how great I think he is. He's just one of the greatest guys and a huge fan, great musician, great music lover, and he was nice enough to say, sure, come on board and help me out. So we started going through photos, and my one of my other concerns was, let's try not to use the photos that have always been used. Can we please choose something that's unique and special? And so he let me in the door, and I even went out to Los Angeles, and we spent an afternoon looking through hundreds of photos, and basically we were vetting the collection to narrow it down to what would be in the book. So I was going on there, and I would look at a photo and go, no, that was printed in a Japanese magazine in 76, so we don't need that one. That one's good. I've never seen that one. I promise you it's never been published. And we would find the best of the best. Now, obviously, he had some choice in it, too. And certain photos that I wouldn't have chosen, he decided to choose because he thought they told a certain story, which is, of course, he's the author. It's his right to choose that. But, I did my best to go, let's kind of find the best of the best and really make this not just the information, but the photos that tell the story as well. And, of course, I knew some photographers. He had never even heard of Linda Lesio. Most people have never even heard of Linda Lesio. Linda Lesio is the guy I don't know if you already know, but he's the one whose photo is on the cover, okay? And he's got other photos throughout the book. But he had never heard of him. Linda Lesio himself, a couple of years before this, was basically doing photography, like still photography for like cosmetics, like taking photos of like lipstick and, things for advertising. I contacted him because I found one of his color photos in a Japanese magazine, and I said, I'm a photo collector. I'd love to see whatever else you have. And he goes, wow, I haven't thought about Kiss in ages. How did you even find my name? So, that opened up a relationship. And finally, he started going through. He had all his stuff. He didn't have the color stuff. The color stuff he either gave to magazines or to Kiss. The black and white stuff he has, and he ended up using on his, I think he sells prints and stuff. I think he's been to some of the KISS conventions. So Lynn DeLessio was somebody that I brought to the table, and luckily he has these amazing photos from the Beacon Theater. And, myself, I had no idea that they did a photo session like they did for the Alive cover, but they did it months before at the Beacon Theater. And so he was the photographer there, catching them with the flames going up, just basically like the Alive album cover photo session. And so that one photo that's on the cover of Nothing to Lose, the original version of it, if you open up the book and you look, I don't know if it's the table of contents or just one of the opening first pages, you'll see the original version of that photo, and you can't see Peter Criss. He's kind of hidden behind Ace, okay? So I found another photo of Peter from the same photo session and spliced it in there with Photoshop, tried to change the lighting so it blended in nicely. And once I sent that to Ken, that's the image that they ended up using on the cover. All right, so with the Nothing to Lose book, I was very involved with the photo choice, photo editing. A lot of the photos in that book I had to clean up because the original photos had, scratches or dust all over it and things. So I cleaned up a lot of the images inside. And he was nice enough, I didn't get paid because I didn't ask to get paid. But he was nice enough to actually give me a photo credit in the back. So that was my first big thing where I could say, yay, my name's in a KISS thing. Yeah. I had a blast going out to Los Angeles in September of 2013 for the book signing. I sat basically just 2 feet from Gene and Paul and watched the looks on the faces of the fans as they went through getting their books signed, seeing the love and the passion and the excitement of all these fans as they get to meet their heroes. And it was a really, really fun time. Moose, Peter Ortino, who's one of the original KISS members, I'm sure you guys know, he showed up. Ken was smart enough to go, no, you're not going to stand in line. He pulled him out of line and got him to see, basically to reunite with Gene and Paul after, 30 plus years that they hadn't spoken or seen each other. That was a really special moment. I'm really, really glad to have been there for that. So that was magic. The whole thing was great. And again, I salute Ken Sharp for allowing me to be involved in that.
Why don't you lead us into Ross telling us about the Love Gun reissue, the deluxe edition?
Okay. Well, before the Love Gun thing, after the Nothing to Lose was actually the Destroyer Resurrected, which, I didn't ask for credit. Again, Ken asked me if I had anything to offer, and I showed him these photos that a photographer named Richard McCorkery taken on June 24th, 1976, which is the famous Empire State Building photo session from Barry Levine. That's the day that happened. Well, there was another photographer there, and he was working for, I believe, the New York Times or the New York Daily News, one of those. And he shot this amazing image of the four of them really cropped in short. Gene is pulling his lip down, which is the only time I've actually ever seen him do that. He just doing like that. Each one of the four guys looked amazing. I bought that as a print on eBay, scanned it and cleaned it up and presented that, and they used that as the center spread in the CD, that image. And then they used another shot that I used from same day, and it's the when you pull the CD off, it's the jewel case image. So even though I didn't get credit for that, those are the photos that I submitted for that. And then last year, when they were deciding to do the Love Gun reissue, Ken contacted me again, and I sent him a bunch of different stuff, told him about, he already knows about a photographer named Michael N. Marks, but I sent him a bunch of stuff and tried to get him to use certain photos that would be special for that. So he was nice enough. I was able to get my name in there for just, again, it's like photo research assistant. So that's how I got in the Love Gun thing. Again, love you, Ken.
Yeah, Ken's an awesome guy.
Yes.
But you've also had a picture on the cover of a magazine, haven't you?
Yeah, oh man, that really blew me away. I didn't expect to see that. First of all, the fact that Kiss was finally on the Rolling Stone cover was enough to make my head spin around. And then when I saw what the actual photo was, I just couldn't believe it. Thought I was dreaming. Um, so the story behind that photo is that it was originally a poster from Sweden Poster magazine back in the 70s. And the scan of it, I don't know if you guys understand that, on a flatbed scanner, the surface is only about this long, about that wide. And so to scan a poster, you have to put part of the poster on there and scan it, and then slide it over and scan another portion. And then you go into a photo editing software, and you kind of glue them all back together. So you have the final poster as one image. And this poster had the corners cut and the lines. It had scratches and everything. And this was when I was first learning how to use Photoshop and manipulate a photo and clean things up, do some restoration. So that was one of my first jobs, and I did that years ago, probably about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago by now. When Ken and I were working on Nothing to Lose, we were in contact with Finn Costello. Found out that Finn Costello doesn't actually have any of his own Kiss photos. He basically sent everything to Getty Images, or Kiss has some. Getty Images has the rest. Getty Images basically bought what Retina had. There was a photo agency called Retina, and they purchased everything. So all of Finn's stuff is over there, and he doesn't actually own it. He's retired, lives in, I think, Ireland, takes photos of boats for his own enjoyment, takes a ship and photo in black and white, and that's what he loves to do now. So I told him, let me please send you a CD, a disc, with all the photos that I've collected over the years that are yours, that at least you'll have them in your collection. They're yours, you should have them, So I mailed him that disc. And then this was probably about 2 years later when I saw that cover. And then once I bought the magazine, I looked in and saw that they did not credit Getty Images. They went directly to Finn Costello. So he was the one that provided him the image that I provided to him. And then I was like, I don't want to go around telling everybody this is my image if I don't have some kind of proof. And so I was able to get a high-res image of that magazine cover, and I compared it to my copy, which I still have on my computer, and there are artifacts in there. Because it was really my first job, I didn't really do a super clean job. You can't tell when you look at you can't see it, it's too small. But when you zoom in, you can see little scratches that either I just missed or was, too lazy at the time to clean up completely. And then it matched exactly to the one I have on my computer. Even the what you call the color correction. If you see the original poster, it's got more of a yellow, not just from age, but it has more of a yellow tint to it. And the color correction that I did just to make my own self happy got rid of that yellow, and it's the image that you see on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. I was just floored. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and it took quite a few days before I was convinced that I wasn't dreaming. But that's something that I just still think is super special, and I feel blessed to have been involved. Again, no credit, because Finn Costello probably doesn't remember at all that he got that from me. So be it. I know it's mine, and that makes me happy.
All right. So did you know in advance that the Rolling Stone magazine was going to have that picture? Or was that a complete surprise? You just see it online or in the store, and oh my God, Kiss is on the cover of Rolling Stone?
Exactly. That it was on RollingStone.com. I think the first time I saw it, or probably it showed up somewhere else. Somebody was announcing, okay, Kiss is on the cover of Rolling Stone, and then they had that image, and yeah, so it was probably maybe a week or so before it actually showed up on the newsstand, and I went and bought a few copies because that, again, really super special, thing for me personally as a fan. To know that something I had any hand in at all made the cover of Rolling Stone, but then it's the only Kiss cover. That's a pretty big thing for me.
So, Lonnie, before you freeze up and drop again, or did you freeze up again?
He looks frozen.
No, there you
the video, Lonnie, keeps freezing you, and then it comes back.
I don't know what's happening. I'm not doing anything, I swear.
All right, so why don't you get a question in while you're not frozen?
Oh, yeah, that's me. So Ross, when did you start working on this? And how long ago did you start working on this? And how much time have you been dedicating to this project for the Magic book?
For the book, yeah. Well, I guess I've been collecting since I started out as a fan, buying Circus and Cream and Hit Parader magazines, and 16, and of course all those wonderful Kiss specials that would come out. Like a Super Teen Kiss special. Those are still some of the most amazing collections of photos and stuff. I love them. The Grooves magazine. So, I started collecting, and even though my book stops once they take their makeup off, I was a huge fan throughout the 80s and saw them every concert I could, every chance I got. And then in the 90s, even before the reunion, the early 90s were a great time to collect magazines because all these rock scene specials would come out. Like every 6 months or something, it seemed like. So I was in heaven for that. And, of course, any books or even foreign magazines, Japanese magazines. I think Elaine was on a couple weeks ago, and he was holding up the Music Life encyclopedias. Yep. When I got a hold of those, man, that was just incredible. And, even the History book, which I think a lot of people when the History book came out, their attitude was, I ain't paying $150 for a book. That's way too much. And I was in line waiting to get into the Unplugged tour that they did in 95, right? The convention tour, the Unplugged thing. They were going to have one in Houston, and then it got canceled. So I drove up to Dallas, and standing in line to get in there, I saw a couple of people up ahead of me were looking through this big book. And I go, well, that has to be History. And it looked way bigger than I thought it would be. Right? I just didn't understand how big the thing was. So I just walked up ahead and started looking over their shoulder, and I almost passed out. I mean, it was just like looking at the photos of Paul and Gene, all that rare stuff. And it was just page after page of incredible stuff. And I just decided, okay, I don't have $150, but whatever it takes to get it, I'm going to make sure I get that book. And it's still one of my all-time favorite books, and it's got lots of great information, and not all of it's accurate, but it's still one of my favorite books. So collecting. Then, I believe in 97, Dale Sherman came out with a book called Black Diamond, right? And that book was the first book that I remember where he made an effort to be specific about certain dates, even going so far as to name, like right in the first few pages, the date that Ace joined Kiss. I think he had it as like January 17th, okay? That's not 100% confirmed. Lydia, Chris, claims that Ace actually joined right around Christmas time at the end of 72, right? So I'm still would love to be able to nail that date down. My fingers are still crossed. The flame still burns. If I can get a 3-hour interview with Ace, 3 hours with Peter, 3 hours with Gene, 3 hours with Paul, I will dig as much information out of those guys about those specific dates as possible. Nobody's ever asked Paul this question. Paul, was Ace in the band by Christmas 72? Do you have recollections of him being there at Christmas? Just try to nail them down as best as they can. Now, I fully expect them to go, I don't know.
Yeah, I could just imagine the conversation. So Paul, what day was it that you took your ad down to, the Village Voice? Because your ad appeared in the 7th and the 14th edition. So did you pay with a check or cash?
Exactly.
And just the look on his face would be, what?
The singles or fives, or what was the combination?
Well, listen, man, all I feel, my attitude is, a boy can dream. I'm going to try and beg their patience with me and try to get some little clue that will help us nail these things down. Here's the way I feel about it. If we knew exactly and had real confirmation, then every year we can celebrate that day, right? It's like a birthday or a holiday. You have, this is the day Ace joined KISS. This is when KISS became the four that they are. I'd love to have a date for that to celebrate every year, okay? Earlier I mentioned June 24th, 1976. For years we didn't know when that happened. And I was lucky enough through purchasing these photos to find the research and get the actual photographer who knew exactly what day that was. And it's cool to me when I see that iconic image of them on the Empire State Building, or any of those Barry Levine shots. Them in the carriage. There's so many iconic images. Them with the marionettes, right? All those happened on the same day. And those are all important images. And I love knowing that every June 24th, this day in history, bam, 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 there's all those images that we have lived with our whole life. That means something to me. And I think it's meaning more to people as the years go on, because it's just like history buffs. They want to know the details. They want to know when certain things happened. And I like trying as hard as I can to try to nail it down and get the best, most confirmed information, and that's what this book is about. I kind of got down this road. Let me head back to Dale Sherman. So once that book came out, that's when I decided I've got to figure out exactly when things happened. And then just a few years later, the amazing Kiss Alive Forever came out. And I just felt like finally somebody is doing it the way I would do it myself. Day by day, everything. They went to such lengths to get that information. That's why I will always salute Kurt Gooch and Jeff Sues for that book. But being the selfish person that I am, it wasn't enough. I had to find out when were all the photo sessions, when were all the recording sessions, when did they do this interview, when were they doing this TV appearance, when were they doing this promotional appearance. I wanted all that information. And when I went to Atlanta in 2002 for the KISS convention that year, I asked Kurt and Jeff during the Q&A, you guys gonna do one about the photo sessions? Can we fill in the gaps here? And their attitude was like, basically, well, this one about the concerts was hard enough. Maybe we'll get around to doing the other ones. And I thought, I understand, and I just decided at that point I'm going to start cataloging everything. A few years later, I met a guy named Mark Scalatino. He did the infamous book now that unfortunately got taken, off the shelves. Basically, it was called Vintage Kiss Photos, and he had the Waring Abbott photos and Janet Mikowska photos, and Kiss sued him because he had the logo on the cover. So that was really unfortunate, not unexpected, but unfortunate. But Mark, being a photo collector like I am, we met through a purchase. I purchased some photos from him on eBay, and right off the bat, he was a warm-hearted, sweet guy that we shared the same passion for KISS images and photos. So throughout the years, that was back in, I think, 2004, almost, 11 years ago. Since then, we've been on the hunt, trying to find photos, trying to find photographers, getting specific information. And that was really, that was when it really kicked into high gear. So all this time up to now, I've been cataloging all this information. Official Aucoin paperwork. Kurt Gooch and Jeff Sues have amassed a big collection of that paperwork. And, through them, I have access to that information as well. The record logs at Electric Ladyland Studios, the record plant, all these detailed, here on this day, December 12th, they were, doing overdubs for Black Diamond, whatever it happens to be. All that information, I just decided to keep it organized And it's been about 3 years now since I decided I've got to do this. I've got to make this a book. Kurt Gooch contacted me through the Kiss Forum photo website because at the time, I think Universal was going to be putting out a series of re-releases. That was the plan. They were going to start re-releasing all the albums as deluxe editions. Again, this is like 3 or 4 years ago. And he needed my help for photos because they were going to basically do a pitch about how they would design the Rock and Roll Over re-release. And he wanted me to actually be able to specifically find the photos that would work for just that album. Not use a Destroyer photo. You understand?
All right, get the right ones. And
there he is.
Now this is your last chance. If you don't behave,
Try my best.
Julie's going to kick you off the show. He's going to suspend you for 2 weeks.
So everyone who's watching this, we're not a highly produced show. We have a budget of, I think, 1 soda per show.
I had to go to water because it's free.
Yeah. So we make do with what we have. So this show has had a few drop offs so far. Fingers crossed, and hopefully we can get through it. I'll have a little bit of extra editing to do, and I'm going to leave this in. So Ross, let's get back to where you were there. Because you're just bringing us into 2004, and the possible Universal, actually 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
And the Universal possible reissue campaign and Rock and Roll Over. So you're looking for pictures specific to the era because it bothers Kiss fans when product comes out and there's a Destroyer photo in a Rock and Roll Over paragraph. I think we're very touchy about those sorts of details. So continue with your story about looking for the correct pictures for the era.
Yeah, so Kurt had reached out to me. I'd kind of developed a bit of a reputation for having that knowledge of photos and dates and stuff. Again, on the KissForum.de, which is I believe
Kiss News.
Gerhard Wimmer's.
Yeah, the German site, great site.
Yeah, so that obviously they have a huge collection of photos there, and I would try to help out as much as possible. So specific dates could be attached to the photos. And then I started finding out, well, there's more. It's more than just me. There's other people out there that are concerned. It's like, where is this photo from? And, my research to finding out these dates came down to studying the makeup design, studying the costumes, studying the drum mics, the overhead mics. So many of their concerts, for example, they're like snowflakes, okay? The setup is different for all of them, okay? It's not until you get to like the Alive 2 tour and definitely the Dynasty tour that things started to become much more consistent, okay? Where they set it up exactly the same. But even the Dynasty tour, most people don't know the difference that in the first part of the Dynasty tour, maybe the first month, Gene didn't have the thighs cut out of his pants. Most people don't pay attention to that stuff. But after he cut the holes in the thighs in August, maybe about mid-August of 79, well, he never went back to having the closed-up thighs. So that's one clue that helps you locate the time of these images, okay? Ace, I'll give you another quick example. You guys know Ace's guitar strap that has the lightning bolt down it, right? Famous thing that, Gene, of course, criticized Ace for not trademarking. Ace didn't worry about it, but Gene said, you should be making money off that trademark. And but anyway, at the beginning of the tour, Ace has the white strap with a black lightning bolt. And then later on, about the second half in September till December, it was changed to a black strap with a white lightning bolt. So those little distinctions are great clues. And that's what I started, making notes and going, okay, well, I know this photo is definitely from Uniondale in September of 79. And here's what he looks like. And I got to give a shout out right now to a guy named Chris Bennett, who you guys know as Faster P. Diddy. Love that name. And he was really the first person to go, all right, I'm joining in this kind of archaeology, right? It's like forensic science.
Yeah, it's totally a forensic analysis of the photos. I mean, when you're looking for like these little features, like there's the strap, or there's Jean's ass. You're really digging. Well, you're digging a little too deep with Jean's ass, but the evidence is right in front of your face, and when you start putting the pieces together, you suddenly have a fingerprint, don't you?
Exactly. Those clues are what make it possible to tell where something is from. So Chris Bennett, again, Faster P. Diddy, he became really my right-hand man and my extra pair of eyes, and does such a great job of helping me locate information, do research, and we compare notes. And, something that I may have missed, he would catch. Or something he may have missed, I would point out and go, yeah, but did you notice this? And so together, he's really been important in this. So I don't want it to make it seem like somehow I've just done this on my own. I've done a lot on my own, but Chris Bennett is definitely the main guy that has been helping me. And again, sort of out of the kindness of his heart. He never approached me and said, hey man, I'm you're going to have to start paying me to help you with this research. Now, of course, I never said anything about doing a book until just a couple of years ago. But even then, he's been helping me, and his attitude is, man, I just want this book to be made because this is a book that I would want to buy. And so he will definitely get a big mention in the book, and deserves that thank you and praise for his help. So, where was I?
Where were you? I don't know, but I'm sure
rambling on three sides of the coin, and I'm not going to deny it. I can talk for days. I'm passionate about it, and there's a lot of information to to get out there. So if I zoom off track, help me get back on where I was. Basically, talking about the history of the research, and Chris Bennett helping me out. And Kurt Gooch contacted me, and then deciding to do the book. And then once I decided to do the book, if y'all want to hear some more, I can tell you some more.
Yeah, I think, guys, I mean, it's the history of this project, is going to give, prospective pledgers, what do we call them? Pledgers or plebs? Pledgers? What's the correct terminology for a telethon type? Because the Kickstarter isn't donations. You're not asking for donations for people to give you anything. You're asking for people to pledge, and the semantics are rather important here, aren't they? So, why don't we dig a little bit into, the Kickstarter for the project, and what exactly that means to people who've heard, the passion that you're presenting these ideas and, your history with. What does Kickstarter mean to the fans for Magic?
Well, without the Kickstarter crowdfunding program, I won't have the money to do the book the way I want to do it. Now, I could probably aim my sights lower and end up with a book, but again, it won't be the book that it should be, because in order to do the book right, there has to be a certain amount of space for the book, for the information. And to tell the whole story, I need the photos that show the story. Now, with Kiss Alive Forever, for example, so much information, not really equaled by the photos. Okay, that's my personal opinion. Maybe somebody else thinks, oh, I love the photos. For me, there's not enough of them to tell the whole story, but they did an amazing job, as everyone knows. I want this book to have all that information for 10 years, and I want the photos to represent the text. I want you to see what I'm talking about as you're turning, you're trying to figure out what happened on June 4th, whatever. There it is. Oh, that's what they look like. And not just the same old photos that you've always seen. So in order to do that, I need a lot of money. Publishers have a lot of money, but publishers that wanted to do this book wanted to do a halfway version of the book, and I'm not interested in that at all. Somebody else?
Now, kind of curious. So, with that being said, with wanting to do the pictures and so forth, what is obviously you have to talk to different photographers and they've got different fees. But what's like the average cost if you're to license a photo for the book? How does that kind of work out?
Yeah, the average cost would be about $200 per photo. Some photographers are very exclusive, and first of all, they're very tough to get a hold of, and they only will allow their photos to be used in certain projects that they feel reflect positively on their art. Okay, and I have no problem. They have every right to feel that way. Okay, it's their livelihood. It is their art. They feel they're artists. And so those photos, to make it worth their while, it's going to cost more than $200. And a majority of photographers are, I understand your situation. Look, $200, the standard $200 per photo is fine, and let's just do it like that. And then I'm very, very glad to say that there are other photographers who are understanding of my predicament, that I don't have publishers' money. I don't have Backbeat or Voyager Press money to put in their pockets. I'm trying to raise the money myself. I don't want freebies. You don't have to just give it to me for free. I'm not asking for that. Of course, if you tell me you don't have to pay me, I'm not going to fight you. Okay? If you say you can have it for free, I'm just going to tell you thank you.
And get it in writing.
And get it in writing. And the money that would go for that would probably spill up over into somebody else's pocket who just decides you can't have my photos for less than $500 each.
And just doing a numbers thing, you're seeking 100,000. If you were to do just 50 photos at 200 a pop, that's $10,000 alone. And I imagine your book, would have more than 50 photos in it.
Yeah, well, it's 500 pages, and I think I've given an estimate of about 300 to 400 photos, but it's turning out it's going to be more than that for sure. It's going to be pretty much every page is going to have at least one photo. So, but other pages will have like smaller photos that show more of the story, right?
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my questions. I mean, what sort of mix are you really looking for in terms of size of photos? The little bullet pictures that just make a point, to the full graphic page background type pictures. What's your vision on that sort of thing?
Yeah, certain photos are only there for information. Again, you guys may know that part of this book, in addition to telling the story day by day, will go through the specifics of their costumes. So, for example, Peter Criss didn't wear his what people consider sort of his destroyer boots. Didn't actually show up until Rock and Roll Over. Okay, the ones with the cat face on the top of the boot. Okay, not on the leg, but on the shoe. Right, the top of your foot. That didn't happen until that showed up first at the Paul-In Halloween special. Before then, he was using a different pair of boots, actually, which is his Alive boots, and even older than that, but with a wraparound cover on the leg to make it look different. That was his Destroyer boots. So those details, I want to show the pictures of that too. And I don't need a full page image of the band to show that. So certain photos will be there to give a visual representation of a specific thing. And then other photos are so special that they absolutely have to have a full page presentation or even a spread. Certain photos will be great for that. Some of the photos that I have are not great quality. Some of the like fan photos, just things that people took with an Instamatic. I'm not going to blow that thing up to a full size. It'll look horrible, right? So, but I want to show something specific and show you that, this particular concert or backstage at this show or, Paul on the streets in 1977. I think you guys seen that photo where he's like sipping a Coke and he's walking with Eddie Berlandis.
Yeah.
That's not a studio portrait or something like that. So it really will depend, and it'll be a nice, healthy mix of really, really striking full page, beautiful images, special things that you that you won't have seen before, and then the other ones that tell a little bit more of the detail of the full day by day story.
If you go into Getty, their website, I mean, obviously gives you the ability to go in and see full res, obviously watermarked until you go through the process of actually licensing. Do online photos cause you a concern? Are you going to stay away from them? Because obviously a lot of them are 72 DPI without people even knowing. So they're non-print quality in any sense of the word. I mean, they're fine for fanzines in 1985, but what do you want in terms of quality? Where is your cutoff point in terms of the validity of a photo to tell the story?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't want to use photos that have been published, if I can avoid it, or that have been spread around the internet so that, everybody's already seen them a million times. And with Getty, so much of what's on there has already been seen a bunch of times. Certain photos on there I'll need to tell specifics in the story, but most of my photos will come from sources other than Getty. Most of it will come from specific photographers, and they're not part of a photo agency, either Getty or Corbis or, for example, Neil Preston has photos on Corbis, but the photos that I'll end up using of his were photos that I got to see last May, when I flew out to Los Angeles. I met with Neil Preston and another photographer named Michael N. Marks. Maybe this is a good time, if y'all will allow me. I've got an amazing story to tell you about Neil Preston.
Yeah, dude, go for it. I mean, that's what this is about.
Well, it still kind of gets me worked up. I get really kind of frustrated and agitated when I just start to replay this in my head. Now, let me say first, Neil Preston, sweetheart, great person. He was so nice. He allowed me into his house. He had never met me before. I drove up the Hollywood Hills. We had only talked on the phone. He knew that I was doing this research, not just for my book, but also for the KISS documentary film, You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, that hopefully will come out in December of this year. I don't like to be negative, but I don't really see it happening, but I want to be wrong about that. Anyway, so he was nice enough to allow me into his house. And before we ever even went to a studio to look at the photos, we hung out in he's got this little balcony that looks out over the Hollywood Hills. It was really nice, okay? It was a wonderful experience. He's telling me about photographing, everybody. Queen, Pete Townsend, everybody you've ever heard of, this guy has done amazing photos of. And then, that was a nice little introduction, shaking hands. And I walk upstairs, go to a studio, and get to the top of the stairs, and I take a left, and immediately I almost step on a big pile. It's like in a green folder, like you would hang in a file drawer, one of those green folders, and it's full of slide sleeves and negative sleeves, and it's on the floor. I almost stepped on it, okay? Now, I stopped, and I looked down, and it was like, and I started to pick it up, and he's like, don't worry about it. I got somebody coming in to clean up. And then after I stopped, and then I looked up, and I could see stuff everywhere, all over the place, on tables, and he's got all these shelves. He has all this shelf space to put things, and it's just stuff everywhere, okay? It's all over the place. And I was like, how do you even find what you're looking for? It's all scattered. And then, stuff on the floor. And I go, this can't be on the floor, Neil. You can't leave these incredible images on the floor. I don't even know who's in this folder, but I'm sure it's special to somebody. Let me pick it up. I really was just, I just was so shocked that something that it means, these images mean a lot to me. And I know they mean a lot to other people. But I think for a lot of photographers, it's just more photos, It's just more stuff that they have because they have so much after so many years. So anyway, that was my first shocker. And now he had told me that he had, photos he was there on the February 21st in concert performance in '74.
Right, Dick Clark.
Dick Clark in concert. He said he took photos from that, and then he also said that he took photos from the February 18th, '74, the Century Plaza big Casablanca coming out on the West Coast event, right?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
now,
hell yeah.
That one in particular, I was very interested in because there are only a handful of photos of Kiss from that particular day, even though you would think it would be something we've seen a lot. Here's the problem. The photos that we at one point thought were from that Century Plaza performance are actually from a few days before in Long Beach, okay? Jeffrey Mayer, great friend, great person, great photographer. Most photographers don't keep track of the dates, believe it or not. Their job and their livelihood is to capture a moment in time, but they don't keep track of exactly what that moment in time is. That is normal for photographers. The exception is a photographer who actually has his stuff cataloged and organized, okay? So Jeffrey Mayer thought he had photographed them at that Century Plaza. When I looked at his photos, I was going, that can't be, there's no way, Jeffrey, this can't be from Century Plaza. The ceiling is way too high to be part of any hotel, conference room or ballroom or whatever. It's way too big. And then the photos, the things I told you guys before about the microphones and stuff, they didn't match up with other photos from Lydia Chris.
Right.
So I knew there was something wrong. And it was only after doing some more research and finding out that, by the way, I don't know if Alex or Lonnie, you guys know this or not, but you guys know the Long Beach 74 8mm footage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was on Kissology.
Yeah, it's not Long Beach. It's actually from Michigan Palace in April of '74. So this is what this process has been. It's a lot of people might look at me and go, dude, how the hell do you know? You talk a lot of shit. What proof do you have that all this? And there's proof, and that's what will be in the book. It's not me just saying, oh, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I'll actually show you the exact proof that shows you that it's what I'm saying it is, not what we thought it was.
So you're going to present the image and the logic. And Lonnie, you were about to say something, so continue your thought, Lonnie.
So along those lines, Ross, how far along are you with the text of aside from the pictures? How far along are you with the text of the book itself?
All the research is there, and I've got it all in text form, okay? But it's like in Word documents, and all it has to be done is transferred into a program called InDesign. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like Photoshop, but for making books. And you transfer all the text into InDesign, you arrange the photos, you do the layout the way you want to, you manipulate all the image and text data in that program, and that the way the printer gets it is you transfer that into you export it as a PDF file. So the printer actually gets a PDF file of all the pages that you need in your book, and that's what they print off for the book. So your research is
90% done, 80% done. What would you say?
Part of the audio you just now, Lonnie, was kind of cutting in and out.
Oh, sorry.
Did you ask me if it's at 80 or 90% done?
Like the text of it, your research, is it 80% done, 90% done, 100% done?
Let me put it to you this way: if I stopped getting information now, I probably will have to figure out some way to make it all fit into the 500 pages that I'm shooting for. Okay, it's going to be a tight squeeze, but I know that between now and the finished product, when I turn it in September, there's still going to be some new information that pops up. Okay, again, you can say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I think I'll be able to get myself an interview with Gene Paul, Ace, and Peter before it's all said and done. And if I don't believe that way, then I know it probably won't happen. So I have to believe that way.
Yeah,
And of
you
course,
totally got to roll the dice and have some faith. And as for information, as Kurt and Jeff know, as I know, as Dale know, as Ken Sharp knows, there is always going to be something else discovered. This isn't it's archaeology in one sense because no one was there, no one knows what's there. If you think of the stuff that's magically discovered, and there's that word again, magic. Magically discovered year in and year out, and new recording services. And for all of those of us who are into the audio or the video, there are the photographic people out there. I mean, there's a big, or it's a very back room as well as the Rare Audio Club. There's the Rare Photo Club in there. So, there are always new photos turning up, new 8mm turning up, new everything. So no book is ever done, is it?
I think that's the perfect way to put it, Julian. As much as I will try to present all this information as thorough, researched, and concrete as possible, I am not going to try to make anybody believe that something is 100% certain if I don't think it is. If there's reason for doubt, then I will put a qualifier in there and say, this is not 100% confirmed. Here's the evidence that we have, and, it's most likely that this happened on this day. But unless I have what I feel is, and my standards are very, very stringent. I don't just take any first person. Oh, is that right? Is that when it came out? No, I want to know, how do you know that? Where's your proof? Listen, the people who lived it sometimes are the least qualified to tell you the specifics. Okay? They were busy living it. They weren't studying it. What I'm doing is studying it. And that means sometimes you have to tell somebody who was there, you have to tell them that they're mistaken. Okay? I had to do that to Finn Costello, and I hated having to do that because I think it really pissed him off when he tried to tell me that a photo of his was from the Beacon Theater, and the costumes were different, the stage was different. Turns out, it's from the end of '75. It was from the Uniondale concert, the New Year's Eve, and he swore that's from Beacon Theater, and it can't be.
So he didn't believe you that the belt buckle meant that it was.
Right. So sometimes you come, I think they find it. I'm sure they find it offensive that somebody is trying to tell them what they remember is incorrect when they were actually there. I mean, I know if I was somewhere and somebody goes, "No, you don't remember that right," I'd probably be offended too.
So are you sure you want an interview with Gene? Because, of course, KISS was founded in 1865 and has sold 600 billion records.
Yeah, no.
And their 40th anniversary in 2015.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as far as the first-hand, the Allcoin documentation, I've got a ton sitting around here, press office, Allcoin, Casablanca stuff, and more coming in every minute. It's, and even that you can't totally take that this is the let's say for example the Rock and Roll Over rehearsals for the album, that these were plans that we're doing load out load in on these dates. Did it actually happen? Or Gene's scheduled to be on WABX or some radio station on January the 8th. Did it happen? How do you go about I guess doing the due diligence to say, okay, this was on a schedule here, or this is on an itinerary here. Did it actually happen, or did he have Borneo jungle fungus that day and stay in bed?
Yes, that's why it takes several sources to confirm. It's not enough to just say that it's on an itinerary. Of course, concert itineraries for sure are full of mistakes. So there has to be several sources that point in the same direction before I'm comfortable saying, all right, this makes sense. This is the most likely time that this could have happened, or what exactly happened. And again, I'll just have to say, if I'm not convinced, I'll just say it's not confirmed, but this is the best we have at this moment. And hopefully that'll be enough for people later on that they won't go, oh, you swore it was this. And I was like, no, actually read what I said. I didn't swear it was. But things that I am certain of, then I'm going to present, of course, as, yes, this is confirmed. This is thoroughly researched from several sources, and that's the date for it. So hopefully that will be enough for people to have an idea of what kind of level of faith to put into this. It's really a resource book, okay? I want to make that clear. It really is a resource book in the same way that Kiss Alive Forever is a resource book. The only difference is I'm not just limiting to concerts. Now, unlike Kiss Alive Forever, I'm not covering their entire career. There's enough going on in the first 10 years to fill up 500 pages. Kiss Alive Forever took on, was it from 73 or 72 to 2000, right? I think they cut off at 2000, and that was 280 pages.
Yeah, they cut off right at the end of the farewell tour, and I think Ace's Tommy's first show, so Jamaica 2002. Right. How do you handle the tour dates in that? Because obviously that's all been covered kind of by Kiss Alive Forever. It's been covered online by myself as well. And Setlist FM's taken everything from both those sources and kind of compiled it into their own one as well now. So how are you going to handle the tour dates? Are you just going to say on such and such a day they played and not bother with, say, the opening acts, the grosses, the attendances?
I've got, again, I'm grateful and I'm blessed that I have a lot of people that want to see this book happen. I have them in my corner. Kurt Gooch and Jeff Suze are graciously allowing me for a fee to use that information. So I want the set list information there. I want you to know who the opening band was. If there's specific information that needs to be there for that concert, I want to include it. So yeah, absolutely, man. I'm not gonna gloss over that information. This book is a combination of all the sources that have already been out, but also lots of stuff that nobody's ever found out yet. It'll correct mistakes that have been published, things that are incorrect, and it'll also provide new information nobody's ever even heard of before. Okay, you guys maybe have seen the Gene doing the screen test in April of '81 for a show called Grotus. Did you guys see that post I put up?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So listen, that's not been, other than Gene mentioning it a little bit, those images and the details of that particular event have not been covered. So that's just one example. I'll give you another example. Do you guys remember the little blonde kid named Zay Ulrich who interviewed Kiss on the Dynasty tour?
The Hot Hero Sandwich?
Hot Hero... Well, is it Hot Hero Sandwich? I can't... I'd have to check on that. I can't remember if it's... I think Hot Hero Sandwich might be a different thing. I think his was part of some other thing. I can't remember. But... You know what I'm talking about with the little blonde kid, and he's asking him questions, and they're answering him. There's a little interview session that he did with them. Well, I was, I reached out to him, and we had a nice long talk, and he gave me a lot of really cool information about how that went down, and how did this little, I think he was, 10 years old or whatever, how that little guy got to do that interview. And, his story, I think, is very entertaining. To put yourself,
it was Kids World. It was Kids World.
There we go. That's exactly right.
Did you just Google that? Are you Googling on the air?
That's cheating.
That's it. So, Zay has helped me out. I did an interview with the guy. He turns out that he lives in Houston here. His name is Ken Jinks, and he was the photographer for the, let me see if I can remember the name of it, the River Trails Middle School that Kiss performed at.
Oh, the M&M contest, wasn't that?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, that information is not in Kiss Alive Forever. I mean, the information about it happening is, but they didn't interview Ken Jinks because, I don't know, he wasn't available then. I don't know why they didn't find him, but luckily I found him. So there's a lot of stuff that will be brand new in the book, okay? But yes, information from Lydia's book. If she tells in her book that Bill Aucoin took her and Peter out for her birthday in 1976, and, I know her birthday, well, guess what? That information is going on that date in 1976 because this is trying to step you through every day. Every information that could possibly be brought up is going to be there, and that has to do that, I have to pull from biographies, from Kiss Alive Forever, from Kiss and Sell by Chris Lent, Sealed with a Kiss by Lydia Chris. The Japanese magazines. I don't know if you guys saw a post I did showing Kiss in July of '75. They're wearing the robes, and the famous photo session where they're out on the street in front of a car, and Gene's got his legs up. He spreads his legs.
Yeah, the classic one.
That information and the interview that they did that day was in a Music Life magazine in Japanese. And Alain, right, Balish, he was nice enough. For a fee, I paid him to translate that interview for me. And so that information is just a little sneak preview that I've put out there.
And that one's up. That one is up on your Facebook page as well, isn't it? Because that is a really interesting translation and interview that really takes you kind of inside the head of the Japanese Kiss fans from the early part. I think before the band had even been there, and kind of the building of that relationship with them. So you get the cultural kind of emergence of why you guys dressing up like kabuki, and doing all these things which are basically in our culture. But that was one of the fascinating ones that I thought you posted up there of all these little teasers you've given us, which Grotus, fantastic. I mean, Gene, what a powerful and attractive man he looks in those pictures with a haircut and clean leathers, and it's been some really cool stuff. But you also have the one you did today, and that's Rayanne.
Oh yes,
that is insanely cool with Paul with his bandit makeup. So tell us a bit about the picture that you shared today, because obviously she is a very, very important part of history with some of the photo sessions she's done.
Absolutely, it's so funny to me that Red Room background photo session, both with Paul with the bandit or with the star. That's been used on so many official Kiss publications. They used a shot just recently in the 40th anniversary best of that they put out.
Yeah, that's in Kiss 40. Yeah.
Yeah. So and they used it for the official promo poster for the "You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best." We've seen it so many times, but most people have no idea who she is. And a lot of times, her name is not even credited in the photo credits, and that's a real shame and a heartbreaker to me.
I had never heard of her name.
Right.
I had never seen her name until you mentioned it with that post. So
she, I contacted her a few years ago, and this was even before I was kind of for certain doing the book. I had the idea of doing the book, but I wasn't on the road yet. So I contacted her, and just to get information. When was the photo session? I need to make sure, was it on different days? A lot of people assume that there was one photo session with the bandit makeup and a different photo session with the star makeup, right? And by the way, Gene changed makeup 3 times, and Peter changed makeup 3 times. Ace was the only one who didn't bother.
Ace. So what we're saying is Ace did nothing.
Ace did nothing more than put on his first makeup. So here's the deal. It happened all in one day, okay? And she had never seen them before. She didn't understand exactly what was going to happen. She just thought it was going to be another rock band. Just some rock band that was up and coming. And so they walked in and had all this makeup and costumes, and she was really taken aback and surprised. And then the fact that they spent, they had to change the makeup several, that many times throughout one day's worth of a photo session.
So they did both the different versions of makeup in one day.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's nuts.
They sat in their studio and did, photo sessions with a certain design. And if you look at Gene's makeup, the official promo poster version of his makeup is different than the one that you would see with him kind of holding his hands out like that. And there's another one where he looks really gruesome. It's just a really kind of rough version of his makeup. Same thing with Peter. I know if you look closely at some of those photos, the black on his eyes it's like he didn't even bother to add a second coat. It's like almost see-through or gray. So, anyway, so I was lucky enough to develop a relationship with her, and she's a sweet thing, man. I love her to death. She's so nice. So over time, she developed, an understanding of who I am and what I'm trying to do. Of course, at first, a lot of people are kind of like, who are you and why are you asking me these questions? Okay? So, but that over time, that went away. And last year, I asked her, can we get some sample photos to present to Alan G. Parker and Keith Badman? These are the guys, the archivists for the documentary. Yep. Can we present some of your photos, and hopefully they'll be used in the documentary? And then at the same time, I'll get to see what samples you provide, and hopefully there's something I can use in my book. Okay, this was last year. And when she sent me the samples, of course, my head nearly exploded. And there's so many things. There's other stuff that I haven't shown anybody yet, and I'm not going to show anything until the book comes. You'll have to get the book, or wait until the book comes out and somebody scans it, and then it'll be all over the internet. But anyway, that picture in particular got my attention. Just that they decided to use the same pose that was that iconic image from the promo poster, but Paul with the bandit makeup on. That was really special. Some of the other stuff that she did the 1980 People magazine cover, right? The first time you saw Eric Carr.
Right, yep.
That's her photo session. And so she's got some cool outtakes from there. One great shot I can try to describe. Gene is just sitting basically like this, sitting down and just staring.
Oh, normal pose.
Yeah, there you go. And the other three are around him, but they're checking their makeup. Somebody's handing them a little handheld little square of a mirror, and they're checking their makeup. And it's just an in-between shot. Definitely not something that would have made any sense to put out. But she has that image. I love those kind of behind-the-scenes images where you feel like, oh, okay, this is what it's like to be at a photo shoot, right? So she has that kind of thing. She has photos with Gene, Paul, Ace, Peter, and of course Eric, all within the same week of the early part of August 1980, where she went to Gene's mom's house. If you look in that People magazine spread, you'll see a shot of Gene without makeup, sitting, in a chair, and his mom, and I guess it's her husband at the time, sitting on the couch, right? So you have that shot. There's a whole bunch more where that came from, where he doesn't have makeup on, but he's posing, hiding. There's a shot of Gene and his mom in like a special Kiss paraphernalia room, like a collection room, and it's a nice, great shot of them, just hugging.
Yeah, that's the Chiam Shrine.
There you go. Exactly.
The shrine to Chiam.
The shrine to Chiam.
Try and say that fast, so.
And one of the really special ones is Eric. The marionettes that they're posing with in '76. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The puppets. Right. He's hiding behind Peter's marionette face, but he doesn't have makeup on, and he's just looking over Peter's hair. You see his eyes.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
and it's
funny.
just such a really cool photo. And I am so lucky to have her allowing me to hang on to those and make them part of the specialness of this book. That besides just the photos, just the information that who was there and what she did, she's got, she remembers what happened there and all this information. And she took photos of Peter at that same time with Deborah, his then wife, and that showed up in a different, I think maybe a month later, People magazine. It wasn't a cover, but it was just an article in People magazine where you see Peter and Deborah and Peter's mom and dad are hanging out around this little outdoors, little lawn chair table kind of arrangement.
Yeah, that was his first unmask, I think, apparent
Exactly.
real one. So that's a really cool one. You know, as we start, I think probably wrapping this up a bit. Alex, thoughts?
I'm loving the idea. You got so much minutia of stuff you want to get on there and get in there, and so I'm just like, as you're telling us, I'm just in there, like, I'm trying to visualize this. So I might look like I have a dead space look on my face. I'm just like trying to visualize as you were describing these photos, but
it's a lot to absorb, isn't it?
Oh, it is. So I guess I mean, I hope I don't jump too quick, but what exactly? I guess so you've got the $100,000 goal, and hopefully that's a good start for it there. What's the plan then? So, I mean, how do you plan on, like, going about getting it published? Like, who would you go to and stuff like that?
Well, there's a printer. Starbroker Printers is the current printer that I've gotten a quote from. And again, for 3,000 books, let me be a little more specific. 3,500 page hardcover, full glossy page books, 9x12, right?
Yeah.
To give you an idea. I don't know if y'all remember this particular book, Ken Sharp's Phenomenal book. It's hardcover, 9x12. Now, it's this thick, and I think it's about 250 pages. So double the size, and you've got magic. Okay? Now, I don't think Ken designed this cover, but I can promise you this will not be the cover. I'm not a fan of that cover at all. But, that's just my opinion. I'd love to tell you the ideas I have for the cover, but I can't do that just yet. Eventually, you'll see what the cover will be. I'm not going to talk about it until I have exactly what I want to present. I don't want to present something saying, oh, here's a rough draft. What do you think? I guarantee you what you see is going to be basically what I feel it should be, and it'll just be that, okay? So, unfortunately, it won't be a decision, a committee decision. And if people like it, I'm glad. If people don't like it, it'll just have to be okay for that. So, 3,000 books will cost me $36,000. Okay, I'm definitely setting aside $50,000 for photo licensing. Okay, if I have that much money, I can have enough to pay the photographers who want extra, and I'll have enough to pay the normal amount, and I'll be able to pay people who are, whatever you can afford. I just want to help out. I want people to get paid what they deserve to be paid for these unique photos. So that's half of the budget right there, and then the other $14,000 will be other expenses that I'm leaving some space there because I know there will be something else that will cost more money, and I'll need to have some kind of cushion there. I know one thing that'll happen is when I get a hold of Bob Gruen, y'all know who that is, right?
Yeah, I think I've heard of him once or twice.
I've got to make a trip. I've got to make a trip to New York and do basically what I did with Neil Preston and actually look through every slide and negative that he has and hand pick the images. Because if I leave it up to them meaning whoever his, whoever he has assistants working, they'll give whatever is convenient, right? They'll scan stuff that just happens to be lying around, and they'll probably pick photos that they think are the best ones. Meaning, like Gene right up in the camera with, sticking his tongue out. Like, no, I don't want that basic kind of photo that you've seen a million times. I would rather have some photo where either Gene's cracking up at something. I love those photos where Gene's head's back and he's just laughing at something that happened. Those special photos that make you feel like you were actually there with them on that day. That's what I'm looking for. and I'll have to go there. I have to make a trip to New York, and that costs money. So the extra $14,000 will be going toward that kind of thing, and any other expenses that creep up. So I'm not making a penny. People are so funny. They think, oh wow, man, he's really going for the money grab. No, I'm not making a penny until after the $100,000 that I raise has been spent, and then I have the actual book to sell. So,
And the people who pledge for that money, they get copies of the book for those pledges, don't they? If you've got multiple levels. So I mean, obviously $50 I think is the minimum one that gets you a book as well. Is that correct?
That's right.
And the higher pledges, pledge levels get you additional stuff, which are printed versions of many of these pictures that you've already shared. A bit, so I guess you can call that 14,000, fairly production costs.
Right, absolutely. And by the way, I don't think people understand this. The amount that I've made so far that's the shipping in there also. Okay, so it's not like I make $50 and it's adding up, and then they pay shipping afterwards. You understand? So out of the $100,000 that I raise, I have to use that money to pay shipping. Do you understand? Does that make sense to people? It's not extra. Okay? They pay $50 for the book, and then if they're in America, I think it's $12 for just the book, and they get the 8x12 print as a bonus, right? Plus their name in the book, right? Now that $12 gets reported on Kickstarter as a $62 donation, 50 plus 12, right? So if I reach 100,000, then I've still got to pay out of that 100,000 shipping for the books that I ship. Does that make sense?
Yep. So it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors on your side, isn't it? That the pledges that people are making doesn't take into account really. You get to 100,000, but you got to take the postage out, and that is a massive percentage. As anyone who's I think the original KISS crew know how painful it is to ship, financially to, the fans in Australia who may have pledged, and let alone in the States now, it's not cheap for books that size. And a 500-page book, full, printed, I mean, how much is that sucker going to weigh? That's going to be at least 2 pounds, I would think.
Yeah. Well, History book, of course.
It's 9 pounds, isn't it?
Yes.
History. Y'all remember this guy?
Oh, heck yeah.
All right. This is 480 pages, right? So that's pretty much the thickness of it. Obviously, it won't be that size. So this thickness and this size, there we go. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It'll be heavy, okay? So it's just, listen, I don't want people to think that I just don't want them to think that this is somehow, my way of putting my kids through college or something like that. It's just I want to do the book the best way I possibly can. Nobody's ever done a book like this. Everything else has been part of the story. And I know, obviously, I'm not telling their whole 40, now, it's basically 42 years, really. I'm just taking care of the 10 years. There'll be a chapter, by the way, somebody asked recently, and I put up the table of contents. There'll be a chapter, the first chapter will actually be from 1943 to 1972. Why 1943? Because that's when Neil Bogart was born. And the people that are part of the Magic, that are really, really important players, their birth dates are going to be included in that kind of prehistory information. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So that's how I want this book to be done, and I'm just, I think that it can be done. I know I can do it, and it's just a matter of enough believers out there who go, yeah, that's a book I want. I'm sold, and then they actually can get themselves on Kickstarter and make a pledge, and kind of rally behind this thing. Man, Julian, I can't thank you enough. You're so nice of you to help me out and to use your considerable influence on the FAQ, which everybody knows is the absolute best KISS forum. There's not even a close second. I'm sorry, all the other people who have KISS forums, but they just have to accept the reality that KISS FAQ. So I know I'm not just trying to kiss your ass, but thank you, man. I really do appreciate that help.
Now, I've got to at least say, the project, I'm stoked for it. I love the idea. Knowing us as KISS fans, we want all the nitty-gritty detail. That's how we are. The fact that we can, happily read a book like this that has, the tiniest details of, like, just how many people were at a show, and that gets our rocks, for those, I can at least say for myself, for those who are KISS fans, if this is something that, that captures your interest and stuff, you're into that nitty-gritty details, really go to the Kickstarter page and make a pledge, again. And I want to throw out there, too, the cool thing with the Kickstarter is, if the money, if you pledge and the goal isn't reached, there's no loss in your pocket. It's only if the goal is reached, then you get charged for, whatever you promised to donate. And like you mentioned, each pledge, $50 or more, you get a copy of the book too. So you don't have to go out and buy the book. You've already got your copy secure.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you, Alex, for mentioning that. Yeah, secure. And they use the same credit card information security as Amazon. And of course, only a gazillion people use Amazon safely for years now, right? So you can feel pretty relaxed with, giving Kickstarter your credit card information. So I love the idea that it's an all or nothing thing. I would be pissed off if I donated to something that ultimately only got half the money that it needed. And then I'm going, what, am I getting half the product that I thought I was going to get? That's not fair. Right? And, there's still, I think 22 days left or something like that. And we're just almost at the amount that we need. By the end of today, I think if we're at 23,000 and change, we'll actually be pretty much on target to get this thing done in 30 days. Of course, assuming that it continues to climb in the amount of money that people donate. This kind of situation where I get to actually talk, you actually see who I am, you see my really cool KISS shirt, I'm really a fan, okay? And I think that's got to help somehow or another.
I think it's important for people to know, whenever they're being asked for money, who the person is who's asking it. And that's kind of why we want to give you a platform on here, and we've let you talk, and tell your story so that your passion comes across, so that how you get to this point in that you want to tell a story in a book and you need help funding it. You're getting to explain yourself today, and that's what we want to do as a platform. I do thank you for your kind comments about the FAQ. Obviously some people would disagree, but whatever. But you've got 4,500 Facebook likes. Even if a small percentage of those people who allegedly like what you're posting, get out there to Kickstarter. Where do people find you? That's the most important thing to kind of put out at the end. Where do people find Ross and Magic?
Definitely Facebook, Magic, KISS Chronicles 1973 to 1983. That's the Magic page for my book, and all the updates and information there. The links to the Kickstarter. You can, of course, go to Kickstarter and type in, guess what? Magic. KISS Chronicles, and that my campaign will pop up, and you can go there directly from Kickstarter. So either of those two places will get you where hopefully you're wanting to go, which is, first of all, it'll give you all the information you need to know about what I'm doing and who I am and my background and all the stuff, what the book is going to be. I think some people go to the Facebook page assuming that it's just another fan sharing photos or whatever, even though right at the very top it says the word book, right? I tried to make sure that everybody knew it was a book, but I don't think everybody knows that I'm actually trying to promote a book that's being worked on. So the more people that know that, the better. So Facebook, Magic, KISS Chronicles 1973 to 1983 will get you there. As soon as you type in Magic-KISS, it'll show up immediately.
Yeah, and we'll keep that link up on the general discussion board of the FAQ for quite a while, at least through the 30 days. You've added a couple more pledges while we've been speaking, so, go KISS fans, go. How can KISS fans help you? I mean, we're a very grassroots community usually, especially as we all get older. I think we start caring more about the community. But is there anything fans can do to help you get the word out, and how should they go about that?
Yeah, sharing on Facebook, sharing on Twitter, Instagram, any of the social media, just letting other KISS fans know, or even if they're not a KISS fan, just go, look at this guy. He's actually trying to do this huge project. He's setting his sights really high. I want to say something right now, by the way. When this thing succeeds, notice I didn't say if. When this thing succeeds, it'll be the first and only time that's happened, especially for KISS, okay? Nobody else has ever put out a crowdfunding project of any kind and actually succeeded. If they have, my research has not brought it up. I'd love that becomes a story, that the fans made something substantial happen. $100,000 is a lot of money to raise for anything, okay? So it's not like I said, I can get this done, just send me $500 and we're good. If the fans get together and spend $100,000, I think it'll get noticed. And I love that story. I hope it turns into that and just makes the whole thing really special. So it's the situation where it's, by the fan, for the fans, that kind of thing. And that's one of my favorite things about KISS, because that's how they got started. Nobody who knew better thought they would succeed, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, nope.
Sure.
Look at that stupid makeup. You guys look ridiculous. And that music, there was every reason for them to fail. And they believed in it, and they were so lucky to have other members. Bill Aucoin, in my opinion, Bill Aucoin is the main reason that KISS succeeded, other than the original four guys.
You really think so, or was it Bill Aucoin's American Express card? Isn't that the original KISS Kickstarter?
Absolutely,
Bill Aucoin's American Express.
Absolutely.
But beyond that, just the concept, right? Bill Aucoin understanding that this can be something really special, not just it looks cool and it's fun to but it can become characters and become this thing that can last forever. He had the vision right away. He knew that they could carry on and do this. So I really, Bill Aucoin is a big part of the magic. Neil Bogart, of course. Sean Delaney, can't say enough great things about his creative input. So their team, it's not just one guy, not all just Gene who made everything happen, okay? All these people banded together, and they fought and fought and fought and climbed their way out and became what we all know now as, this phenomenon that continues, and there's no reason for it ever to stop. Think about this, y'all. I guess we're going to be celebrating the 50th anniversary either in 2023 or 2024, depending on when you want to say the start point is, right?
Or by Gene's counting in 2030.
2025.
Right. But at some point around those years, it's going to be even bigger, because 50 years is almost just impossible. And, of course, all of us are going to be older. And I'm hoping that this book will be as complete and thorough, so we go, okay, let's just look at what happened in these 10 years. Here's all the answers you need. I love that it's my book. I'm not doing this with a publisher, because publishers end up owning books, and I don't get to choose when they decide to print up more. You know what I mean? So this becomes something that is really, really mine, that I can really be proud of for a long time. So let's make it happen, everybody. Please. I beg you.
All right. Oh, that's awesome. Ross Radley, this is your life. I think all of us wish you the very best of luck. And KISS Army, let's take a little act of faith here. Like the original KISS crew did, Bill, Sean. We are maybe the Bill and Seans of right now to see this project if it can happen. Don't wait until day 30 to make a pledge. Let's send Ross a message and get those pledges in. You get the copy of the book for that. So you're not spending any money now. You're just committing to spend that money on day 30 if he's reached his goal. So you've got nothing coming out of your pocket or your credit card now, and he's got a whole bunch of really cool, things for higher level pledges. So, go to the Kickstarter page and check it out.
Those posters, man, 24 by 36, Michael and Mark's photos are going to knock your socks off. They're amazing posters. You almost, it sounded like you were about to start singing. You got nothing to lose.
Well, I was going to start singing.
I was thinking it.
Julian, start singing anyway. Come on.
No, I was going to start singing I Believe in Me. I mean, Ross, before, there you go. This is all the stuff that Kiss has sung about. Nothing to lose, though I don't know how appropriate that song really is for for dinner time conversation, but, I certainly does. Ross Radley, thank you very much for spending time with the KissFAQ podcast. Lonnie, Andrew. Or, not Andrew. Andrew! Now you got to play with your hair, Alex.
Lonnie Andrews.
Play with your hair.
He's in a big of a smart ass to be Andrew, so it can't be us.
Alex, Bag Boy, thank you all for, spending time with us today. And
Let's go Facebook.
Awesome.
There you go.
There it is.
Well done. Thanks, y'all, man. I had a lot of fun.